I didn't mention the vertical piece. I didn't mention the hand path going out. I didn't mention moving towards the golf ball. His brain and his body figured all this stuff out because of the block. So I was just going through some of the comments left by you guys on some of the videos, and I appreciate all of the kind words and the comments and the questions. And occasionally I will do something like this, but this one really stuck out because I just literally finished up a lesson that we did a drill as it related to this question that really helped this particular student out. So make sure you stay to the end because I'm going to go over what I did with the student. But Roger asked, random question, a little off topic to this video, but do you have any drills or thoughts related to center face contact? I struggle with hitting the ball on the heel and get the random hosel rocket. I appreciate the fact, Roger, you didn't say the dirty word that starts with S. Thank you and really enjoy your approach and presentation in these videos, Roger. So like I said, I just finished up a lesson on something very similar to this topic. And I know a lot of you out there struggle with center face contact. Center face contact is one of the keys to being as consistent as you possibly can in this game, whether it's off the irons or whether it's off of the driver. Once you start hitting it towards the toe or towards the heel, and I know today's equipment is really good, and you do have a lot more wiggle room for this, but as soon as you start to move away from where the center of gravity is on that golf club, the club head starts to become more unstable and you start to lose distance, you start to lose control. Specifically now with a wood or a wood-shaped club, now you're working into more gear effect and you get more curvature out of that. So, you know, long story short, you have to hit the golf ball in the center of the face. And you know, in my 25 years of teaching and the tens of thousands of lessons I have given, a high majority of players just don't hit the golf ball in the center of the face. So let's talk specifically today about heel strikes and how to improve those heel strikes. And we'll come back to this lesson here, and I'm gonna show you how we went from this to this with a simple exercise that, honestly, I even work on in my game. So let's hop over to the lesson T. And if this is your first time visiting my channel, thank you for watching. My name is TJ Valentine. I am a 25-year PGA teaching professional. If you want to learn a little bit more about me, I have a bio down in the description below, but let's get you hitting the ball in the center of the face. So let's head over to the lesson T. So as I said in the intro, and I'm sure you already know this, center face contact is one of the most important things that we need to do as golfers to be as consistent as we can. Produces consistent flight, it produces consistent distances. If you strike one ball in the center and then the next ball on the toe and the next ball on the heel, you're gonna get a variety of shots. Your dispersion, north and south, east and west, are going to grow. So we have to be good at striking the ball in the center of the face because that is where the most stable part of a golf club is. As soon as we start to move away from the center, the club becomes less stable and then we start to create those miss patterns. Also, we want to stay away from this thing, specifically with an iron. As Roger put it, you know, we don't want any hosel rockets and we definitely don't want any. Did I just beep that out? Yeah, it's a bad word. We don't want to talk about that right here. And if you do like this type of content, this type of golf instruction content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate you joining this community. Hit that like button as well. I have a lot more coming up and my job is to help you out there and I guess maybe entertain you if you're into that kind of thing. Golf is supposed to be fun, So today we're gonna solely focus on the heel strike. And like I said, I just finished up with a lesson that we literally just dealt with this and we went through this same drill progression that I'm gonna go through right here. And it helped him out significantly. And a little peek behind the curtain. This is actually a drill, this progressive drill is something that I do myself because I do drift towards the heel with my ball contact. And once I catch myself drifting towards the heel, I'll go through this drill progression. And honestly, typically I'm pretty good after that for a little while, but my natural tendencies are to drift towards the heel. So this is a great drill, a great progressive drill as I call it, that I keep in my back pocket that I use during my practice sessions when I start to drift more towards the heel. So maybe it will help you. And my disclaimer with any drills that I talk about on this channel or drills out there, not all drills work for everybody. A drill may be focusing on a specific thing, but there may be other things in your golf swing along the lines that will disrupt the ability to actually produce the drill. And the drill essentially becomes worthless and may actually make things, I hate to say it, worse. So the drill has to be right for you. Now, the good thing is, over the last 25 years, I've done this progressive drill a lot, and it has a high amount of success with players that struggle with heel strikes. Like I said, it does not work for everybody, and my job as a coach is, once I recognize this is not doing what it needs to do with the player, I will take this away, and we will go down a different path. But because it does work for a decent majority of players, I'm gonna share it with you. So if you are struggling with heel strikes, again, heel strikes and hosel rockets, thanks Roger, do come from a bunch of different things. And I'm not gonna address the root causes of these things. This drill is an athletic spatial awareness drill. The brain and the body are so powerful when it comes to self-organizing. And this is why sometimes these types of drills are very, very, very successful with players, because the brain and the body figure out how to move better just based on the space that you are working in. And like I said, it doesn't fix everything. Sometimes there's a root cause that just will not be fixed by a drill like this. And this is always my asterisk, and you'll always, like I said, hear me say that. So again, if you are struggling with heel strikes, striking the ball more towards the heel, or even the occasional hosel rocket, first thing I want you to do, get a cardboard box. So I use a foam block here, but a cardboard box works just as well. Cardboard box is just a little loud when you strike it. Obviously, you can use a pillow, use something soft, so if you do hit it, it's not gonna hurt you or hurt your club. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to place the block, and I'm going to place the ball very close to the block. I have very little space to work with. So if you see, when I place this club up against that block, that ball is in the center of the face. So if I work this way at all, again, there's many reasons why I would work this way, but if I work this way at all, you are going to strike this block. And this is the amazing thing about this spatial awareness drill. It's the self-organization of the body. So for example, and I'm just using one example here, if you have the tendency to get on your toes early, everything, your hand path is gonna work away, then you're gonna have to do something funky to counteract that. Some players actually do end up hitting the ball on the toe of the club when they get on the heels, believe it or not, because what ends up happening is they raise the handle to save it, and then they strike the toe. That's not what this video is about. But just using that as a root cause, if I'm going out here and that shoves the hand path out, even the slightest bit, and a little teaser here, the lesson that I gave earlier today, that's exactly what was happening. So make sure you stick around, because I'm gonna show you the before and after of his golf swing as well. Also, like this video if you're getting anything out of it. Share it with a friend too. That, again, did I bleep that out? I better have. All right, so set up against that block, toe up against the block. And I think you can figure out what we're trying to do here. I'm trying to make a swing where I do not strike the block. So my hand path worked tighter to my body. I actually felt that. So that is that self-organization that I was talking about. So this block here, how it affected me, it kept me back a little bit longer. It kept my hand path a little bit tighter to my body. I didn't think about doing that. I didn't try to do that. My only objective athletically was to miss the block, bottom line. And I did, I missed the block. And as you can see, I hit the ball in the center of the club face. Excellent drill to start with. Now, you have this big block, you have this wall here. On occasion, I will have a student that I'll do this with, and they will hit the block. Then I know this drill is not gonna necessarily be for them. I'll give them a couple minutes to work on it to see if their body does self-organize better. But a lot of times if they drill the block with the first swing, I'm gonna have to go down a little different road. But if you do this exercise and you do hit the block, make sure that you at least give it a handful of swings to see if your brain and your body can self-organize. Now, after I do that for a bunch of swings, I actually progress to a smaller object. So I just have my cut off pool noodle here that I use for a ton of things. And I will literally do the same exact thing. Now, it's just a smaller object at the end of the day. I'm trying to get into a smaller visual. So I'm gonna do the same exact thing. Get set, swing. Excellent. Center of the face. My objective was to miss it. I did. The force of my swing kind of moved it a little bit, just the air. But I did exactly what I was trying to do, and I hit the golf ball on the center of the face. My body is self-organizing itself around the intentions of not trying to hit that block. Again, I'm gonna keep stressing, this is not gonna work for everybody because it may not fix the root cause. But a lot of players, this is going to be a very, very, very successful drill. Now, one other thing that I didn't mention before, do you guys ever test where you strike it on the face? So my launch monitor, a lot of launch monitors out there nowadays are very good at giving you exactly where you strike the ball on the face, but you don't have to go out and spend, $5,000 to $30,000 on a launch monitor to get that. You can buy some of the face tape that'll leave an imprint when you do it, or if you have some foot powder and you want to keep foot fungus off of your irons, I'm just kidding, you can spray the face, and when you strike the ball, it'll leave a mark where you sprayed the foot powder, and you can just wipe it off right after. I always suggest at least once every couple weeks, testing out where you're striking it on the face. The problem with today's technology, and problem is probably a bad word when it comes to this, but because they are so forgiving, you lose the feel. Now, if you grab a blade, an old school blade, butter knife looking iron, which I never suggest to anybody, and I don't care what level you're at, that's a whole another video for another day, and I am gonna do one. I'm gonna give you my thoughts on that. But if you did happen to grab one of those blades, you would feel exactly where you strike it on the face. But equipment nowadays, you can be a toe striker or a heel striker and really not feel any difference. So it is important to monitor this. It is important to get some data, whether it's very basic data with face tape or spray, or get on a launch monitor that gives you the exact, within the millimeter of where that face impact is. I highly encourage you to do that just to keep tabs on it. So once you do that drill, you're gonna now progress to something smaller. Now, if you are doing this on the range, the next thing I would do, and I don't have an actual tee, but I would take a small object such as a tee, now stick it in the ground, just like that. So what we're doing is we're shrinking the visual overall. We're trying to take away the training wheel aspect of this progressive drill. That's why it's a progressive drill, starts big and then works small. Hit a couple balls with the tee, move that away, and then obviously get up there and hit some golf shots without it. But what the objective here is to feel exactly what you were feeling with the progressive drill. And I'm not gonna say you can quickly go from the big block to the small block to the tee to hitting it pure in the center of the face. I'm not saying that is what's gonna happen with the majority of you. It's actually gonna be a tiny, tiny amount of players that will quickly get themselves on track. This is a drill that I would suggest doing a lot, especially if you really are a consistent heel striker of the golf ball. If you have a setup at home, do this at home. This is one of those drills, students do ask me, can you do it without a ball? No. This is a drill where you absolutely 100% have to do it with a golf ball. Your brain has to understand it is hitting an object. Because if I take this guy and I put it down and I don't have a ball, heck, I could swing all day long and miss it. But I don't know if you noticed what I did right there, and I'll put it in slow motion. I pulled the club way in order to miss this. you still have to be hitting the golf ball. So if you are at home, get some of those foam golf balls or the wiffle ball golf balls that are not gonna break anything. I'll put a link down below to those if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about. And even taking little swings in the hallway. Obviously, a full swing is the most important, but even taking small swings, and I always say, if you can figure out a way to work on something, work on it. Whether you're at home in the living room, whether you're on the practice range, whether you're at work in the office, I don't care. If we can take a drill and exercise that helps you out, we're gonna figure out a way to do it any place you can, because odds are you don't get to go to the practice range a lot. Nobody does. So I wanna make sure that you have options to work on at home to improve whatever it is that we are talking about. Whatever topic I am talking about for the day in these videos, I wanna make sure that you have the ability to work on this stuff at home if it is something that you need to improve upon. So let's go back over to the desk, and I'm just gonna show you the before and after of the student that was just in here. We literally did this progressive drill with him as well. But I'm gonna focus on what it actually changed with him. It's interesting how this little spatial awareness progressive drill can actually change some mechanical things without trying to change those mechanical things. So let's go back over to the desk. Now I'm going to show you how this progressive spatial awareness drill really transformed this player's transition and downswing and ultimately delivery and strike on the face. So obviously you can see the swing on the left has the block like we talked about. The swing on the right, which was an earlier swing before we went through the progressive drill. So I'm just going to quickly kind of go through his downswing. So you'll notice at this point in his downswing, his lead arm is fairly high. That's not necessarily a bad thing in the big picture, but just kind of remember that. In his transition, his hand path works away from his body. Pressure is working a little bit more towards his toes. His entire body is working towards the golf ball essentially at that point. Now, if we take a look at the one on the left where we started the progressive drill with the big block, you'll notice his lead arm is a little flatter here in transition. You'll notice his hand path stays tighter to his body. You'll also notice he stays back a little bit longer overall. Now I do have pressure mat data to back that up. I don't have it specifically on this screen, but he was staying back a little bit longer. I'm not saying back is a good thing ultimately, but relative to where he was, it was a good thing for him. Now, as he starts to move closer to the ball, you'll notice that the shaft is on his trail arm at this point. You'll notice the shaft is a little bit more vertical. Hands are out. The mass of the club head gets on the outside of his hands early. The mass stays on the inside of his hands. So ultimately, he strikes the ball beautiful. Face was a little closed on this one, he had a little pull, but he struck the ball in the dead center of the club face. And ultimately what this progressive drill did with the big block going to the small block, going to no blocks, it actually got him to stay a little further back inside with his hand path and back a little bit longer with his trail hip. He didn't have this natural tendency to jump in this direction. So this is a perfect example of how his body self-organized athletically around this simple block down here. And the crazy thing was, I never, ever referenced any of this stuff. I didn't mention the vertical piece. I didn't mention the hand path going out. I didn't mention moving towards the golf ball. His brain and his body figured all this stuff out because of the block. Like I said, this is not going to work for everybody. If there are deeper underlying cause and effect issues, this will not help. This particular player, it did. And honestly, if you struggle with heel strikes, it is worth a try. Now go to that range, pull out the foam ball, get some work done in the living room, and start striking the ball in the center of the face.